Greetings, everyone. This is Croy chapter 29, New Testament exercises number 6, which is Matthew 9:18. We'll begin with the first line. Tauta autou laluntas autois. The cases here can be a little puzzling. We begin with tauta, these things, we don't know what it's doing. Then we get a genitive, then we get another genitive, autou and laluntas, and then we get a dative. You need to recognize here a genitive absolute. A genitive absolute is something where the reason it's in the genitive is not intimately related to anything else in its clause. So this is not possessive. This doesn't say these things of him. It's simply a genitive with a genitive subject and a genitive participle that do their own thing together. Him talking, while he was talking. And then normal rules of syntax resume. Speaking or talking could take a direct object, while he was saying tauta, these things. Saying them to whom? Autois, dative plural. While he was saying these things to them, and then we move on, comma. Idou, archon heis. Behold, one ruler. In this case, one isn't emphasizing numerical unity or oneness. It's just like our English a or an, a certain one, kind of like tis. One ruler came, a certain ruler came. And here's our, when I say came, it's because we have the aorist active participle from erchomai. It agrees with the ruler, it's nominative. He came and proskuneo, started to worship him. Prosekune is from proskuneo. You can see that the epsilon, the temporal augment, has snuck in between the pros part and the kuneo part. And this is an epsilon contract verb. So the ending of the imperfect, we're looking at the imperfect, is slightly longer than the normal epsilon ending. So this is an imperfect. What's the force of that imperfect? Having come, aorist participle, maybe he began to do obeisance, or he began to fall at his feet. Something like that. The imperfect doesn't always have to be repetition of past time. It can have what is called an inceptive force. He started to. Why do we have a dative case following it? Well, because proskuneo takes the dative. You fall before someone or do obeisance to them. All right, so a certain ruler came and fell at his feet, saying, quote, and I say saying, quote, because haughty can indirect reported speech. They say that it's going to be nice today. It can also introduce direct speech. That is, it serves like our quotation marks. And sometimes you just have to try both and see what works. But here, he talks about my daughter. So the ruler is the one talking. He's not saying something. If it was indirect speech, he would say, the ruler said that his daughter had died. But here we're hearing his actual words. Hey, thuga termu, my daughter, already etelutesen. I don't think we know this vocabulary word, but you have a decent guess. It's got a temporal augment. So you're going to look for a root. Why would we get an eta before the sigma of the alpha? Well, probably lying under there is an alpha contract verb or an epsilon contract verb. They both do that. Turns out this is an alpha. Telutao, teluteso, etelutesa. The familiar pattern of the lengthening of the contract vowel in the future and in the aorist. My daughter has already died. But coming, put your hand upon her. Let's break down this first part. We have an aorist participle, the same one that was used for the ruler. A certain ruler, Eilthon, came. Now he's telling Jesus, he's giving an imperative, epithes, put your hand, having come. We'll tear that apart in a minute. Let's look at this epithes. Well, this is from our new verb tithemi. It's from a compound form, epitithemi. And we're looking at the aorist imperative, which is not that easy to spot. So how are we going to spot it? First of all, probably it helps to just put up the two charts of the present active imperative and the aorist active imperative. And one of the characteristic differences of the present system and the aorist system with me verbs is that you'll notice the present imperatives in this case have a form of reduplication, ti, the, ti, the, ti, the, whereas the aorist has the simplest form of the verbal stem, thes, theto, thete, thetoson. It also helps perhaps to recognize that epitithemi, the tithemi part, is the part that's going to work through the principal parts in a regular way. So here we can see that thes, epithes, is the aorist active imperative of epitithemi. So put your hand upon her. Let's come back to this sentence and think about that participle. Literally, the participle agrees grammatically with the second person masculine, who is the person being addressed in the imperative. He's saying to Jesus, put your hand. So the subject of this verb is Jesus, is the second person masculine. Elthone agrees with that case. Elthone is not an imperative, though. It just means having come. It's the aorist participle. But with some frequency, you will see a participle used next to an imperative, and it's usually easiest in English to translate them both with an imperative. Come and put your hand on her, as opposed to, when you have gotten there, put your hand on my daughter. All right, we'll see other examples of that. We've been glossing over this tein kera, from care, feminine noun, the hand of you, epi, autein, upon her. The result will be kai zesetai, she will live. Zesetai is a good one to practice and to know at least the first three principal parts. Zao, it's an alpha contract verb, although it conjugates a little irregularly. Zesomai, the future, is deponent. So it doesn't mean she will be made to be alive. It just means she will live. It's deponent. We ignore the middle mood. And edzesa, the aorist. That's it. Thank you for listening.